Mark injury latest, first up TJ, Teddy Bishop, how are they getting on?
So TJ was in the squad at the weekend, travelled with us to Plymouth. Teddy has got a small hamstring problem, but nothing major, so he will miss Saturday. It's not bad, but we've just got to be careful with Teddy because he had a few hamstring injuries, so he'll be a little bit longer than what would normally be for that type of injury, but I think that's the correct decision.
And with decisions on those injured players, does that change, bearing in mind where you are now in the season, knowing there's only a few games left and knowing the position you're in the table, or does the decision-making process remain the same?
No, it's been exactly the same. I would understand if it did change or why it may change, but we've not had any discussions of that. We've always been one thing we constantly talk about is consistency. So in everything we do. So no, we've that's not been mentioned at all, and I wouldn't expect it to personally. Last
week you talked about the possibility of experimenting a little bit, of changing things, getting players minutes. At what stage does that become a reality? Is it when you're mathematically safe, or do you think at this stage now the gap you've got that's a chance?
I've never really thought about numbers, never really thought about points. It's just the right time. I think Dylan Duffy's a great example because I've been really keen to get him on the pitch. He's had very limited time, and it's kind of the games with Sheffield Wednesday away and it's tight. Then it's Plymouth away. Cheltenham was 1-0 to late. He's really been impressive in training. I don't want to say that too loudly because I don't want to put too much pressure on him. But he's somebody in particular that I'd really like to see before the end of the season. So I don't have a specific time, but we have multiple conversations around what we want to do, who do we want to see, what does it look like, and then the conversation of it happening, the reality can be quite different. But I'm really keen to see Dylan out there.
Speaking to Ethan a few minutes ago, and he was saying about this last kind of few games of the season, sometimes as a player it's as hard as you make it in terms of getting yourself up for the games because there's not in terms of playoffs, promotion, relegation. Do you find that as a head coach, or is it just about approaching it the same way?
No way, not for me. And it's a funny one because I was never like that as a player. I can understand the last game of the season, I get that. But at the end of the day, they're not footballers, they're professional footballers. You look at the title that's on a training ground. It's elite. It's about showing an elite mentality 24/7. It doesn't always work like that. And when I look at the group and how they've been all year, how I am as a coach, how the other staff are, how people in general are at the club, and I don't mean general as in some are but some aren't. I mean the surrounding environments and the outer departments. We just wouldn't allow it to happen. We just cannot get. The minute we get complacent, we're in big trouble. So it's our job to keep driving that, and I think the players do that themselves.
And we see sometimes that when you come up against a team, you can almost get dragged down to their level if they're suddenly going about things that way. Does it help in the fact that in this running of games, you've got teams that have things to play for still, and they're not probably thinking they're on the beach or feeling like they're safe?
Now, it's a good question, and like. When my answer is, when I've just said to you about myself, I wouldn't allow that to happen. Well, why would any other manager be any different to me? So I wouldn't expect that from other managers, potentially other players. I've thought about that quite a lot. Well, will they have anything to play for? Will they have anything to play for? I've had some people say to me, which is really odd, you want to be careful how high you finish, because if you don't get there next year, I'm like, oh, sod that, I want to get as high as I can get. Like, why would you think any differently? So why would any other manager, any other club, any other player be any different to me? They shouldn't be, and I wouldn't expect them to be.
It's a nice little group of teams now in the fight for, I think, 10th at the moment. Is that almost your little mini league now? Do you see this as your 10th is top of the mini league that you need to get to come the end of the season? Yeah,
look, it's something we haven't talked about, but it's something I'm aware of and something I look at. When we lost to, I think it was the Exeter game, that like a gap opened up, and I was like, bloody hell, it's going to be tough. I think there was 4 or 5 points between us and them and something like that, and then Fleetwood got away from us. So it was really important that we bounce back from that, which I think we have, but it's so important now that we really try and kick on and attack that. And again, as I keep saying, just to finish as high as we can.
Port Vale, quite a while since you last played them. Obviously it was a difficult day pitch-wise at Port Vale that day. What are you expecting this weekend from them?
It's just another really tough game. It was funny, before I came in I was thinking, right, I feel I know you're going to ask me, and I'm worried about saying the same things to you because I don't want to come across as a really boring head coach, but every game's winnable, every game you can lose. We had a tour of some fans around the training ground today, and I was saying to them, look, Port Vale have got as much a chance as winning on Saturday as we have. You know, the likelihood of them beating us or us beating them than a Plymouth or a Sheffield Wednesday is, I know naturally it's higher when you're playing teams with, say, smaller squads and talent pools and stuff like that. But the problem with their league is anybody can beat anybody, and if we take a foot off the gas and we're not at it, we'll get beat. Likewise, if Port Vale don't turn up and are ready to go, which I know they will be, you know, the advantage will be ours.
And the fact that it's 2 weeks in a row now where you've got Saturday, Tuesday, will that come into play when it comes to team selection, or are you not too fussed about that and you're still taking it game by game?
I'd have to say game by game. One thing I'm guilty of is, so we talk as a medical and sports science team that I'm always led by them. If there's any red flags, they don't play. That's black and white. Not once this year have we gone against that. But I'm a big believer in, if you're fit, you're ready and you want to play, you know, why keep going? I was watching Liverpool playing Arsenal the other day on the coach going to Plymouth, and I'm looking at Saka. He's probably played 60 games this year, and then he plays for England, and so like, you're not getting rested, and he's playing at like the highest, the most elite level. And I think if you're in good form, I know as a player, I'm pick me. So unless we're told otherwise, I think I've been consistent in my team selections. But ultimately, when you look at the league, all of our players this year, which I'm pleased about, they've all had lots of minutes. Ultimately, that kind of gets taken out of your hand because of the Saturday, Tuesday.
And finally, the Player of the Season awards have been launched, the chance for fans to vote. I won't ask you to pick your favourite, but who do you think the fans might have as some of their contenders?
Well, I don't want to say, because I don't want to look like I'm influencing anything or trying to give out you know, slight advantage or little snippets. The one thing I could say is I think it could be any one number of people. I think we've had some outstanding performances over the course of the season this year, and normally there's 2 or 3. I think we could have a real. There could be 5 or if you mentioned 5 or 6 players to me, I'd go, oh, I can't argue with any of that. But I think that's a credit to the group. I think they've been all collectively very, very impressive this year.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.